Hey guys, so I'm down in New Zealand at the moment, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to continue reviewing things here. And this right here is Jumper's EZBook 3. It's another Apollo Lake laptop, but this time around it's the N3350 processor. Now that one is dual core, turbos up to 2.4 gigahertz, and the standard kind of spec that we normally see. So 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabyte eMMC, 1080p screen, that's 14 inches, and it is running Windows 10. So I got this one here from gearbest.com. And coming into New Zealand, unlike Spain, I didn't have to pay any taxes on this, which was really good. So it came tax-free. They declared the value as $50 for those interested. So it's double boxed, really good for protection. And it looks like someone's already opened this. Now, I don't know whether customs had a look at this or that is how it shipped out of China. So first we have some accessories, which I think will be the charger, which it is. So two-prong US style that is rated to 12 volts and 2 amps. There will probably be an adapter in the box that I think I might have missed out on there. Nothing else. So it looks like the build of it is all plastic. That doesn't feel like they have used alloy here at all. I'll just have a look at the bottom. That is also plastic. So we've got two downwards firing speakers. Left and right there, 4 rubber feet, and what looks to be quite a few screws there holding in, 12 screws I think, just looking at that very quickly, holding in the back plate. I'll probably open that up later on to see if we will have any expandability in there with an M2 SSD slot or not, like the Lapbook 14 has. So that actually looks quite nice. The plastic on the top there's silver, small bezels, and you can see right here that there's a webcam. Now that webcam is only VGA according to the specs that are listed on GearBest. So not exactly the greatest resolution. And the odd position there, which is kind of copying that position which the Dell XPS 13 has. Because of the smaller bezels, they didn't have room to put that on the top where you'd normally find it. Now I can see here that the keyboard does have some flex. And the travel seems reasonable. I would say around 2 millimeters of travel there. I'll get that powered on later. There's a bit of flex here you can see with that plastic. So all plastic build. So to cover the ports, we've got a mini HDMI out, or video out of course. USB 3.0 port. I will test that soon to see if that can power an external hard drive. And there's the plug-in for DC charging. And what's next to that would be, I would say, a status LED. On the right side, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, a USB 2 port, and a micro SD card reader. And just like the Lapbook, the power button location is above the backspace and the delete key below that. Now it has the same exact resistance, this key, as the rest of them, so hopefully I won't accidentally push this. So just tapping it, I can see already that it is powering on. So it powered up quite quickly, took about 25 seconds to get into Windows, which is around normal for an eMMC drive. So have a quick look now at the free available space. We've got 43.4 gigabytes free for Windows, and I will check out later on the internals to see if it does have an M2 slot so we can at least add an SSD in there like we could with the Lapbook. So the drive it uses eMMC is a 064 G93, and that will be eMMC 4.5 spec. You can see down here that the wireless, unfortunately, it's not wireless AC like the Lapbook 14, only wireless in Realtek, the typical chipset that I always see on these Chinese devices. So processor only has 2 cores. It will be interesting to see how this will perform against the N3450, which is a quad core. So a quick look at the screen here. They claim it's an IPS panel, and I do believe it is. However, I've noticed that the vertical viewing angles aren't the greatest. We do get some color shift here, so you really have to look at it straight on. This could be due to that anti-glare coating it's got on there, but the horizontal viewing angles don't seem to be too bad at all. I've noticed that when you move this left and right, not bad at all. So far it's a good looking display. Very deep blacks on there, good colors, nice and bright, the whites. Maybe a slightly cool display. It's definitely not warm white. But overall, so far, I am impressed with this display. It's looking good. So I've used the touchpad and the keyboard for a little while here. And first I want to just comment on the touchpad that the accuracy and sensitivity that it has isn't too bad. So it has a matte texture to it, and it does incorporate left and right mouse buttons. It does support gestures like you double tap right click there, and it looks like it's going to support also that swipe down gesture, which I do find a little annoying. But it's actually not too bad, this touchpad. Now the keyboard on the other hand, I'm finding it to be a little average. You can see here when you type that there is a little bit of bounce there. You see that ideally I would like that to be a lot more firm and rigid. Now the Chewy's MacBook 14's keyboard feels better than this. It's got better key travel and it doesn't have that kind of bounce to it. It's a lot more rigid there. So if you were looking at both of those models there, I would definitely consider the MacBook 14 as straight away I concede it's going to have a better keyboard on it. So it has two downwards firing speakers. Let's have a listen to how they sound. Alright, so they don't actually sound too bad for a budget notebook here. Bit of volume to them, they do lack bass however. So here's the EZBook 3 alongside the MacBook 14.1. Now both of these are very similar, both have 14.1 inch screens. They could in fact have the same 1080p IPS matte panel in them, but you'll notice that the EZBook 3's panel is actually more of a cooler white and it's more warm on the Chewy, more of a neutral white, which I personally prefer, although the EZBook 3 screen does look very decent to me. Now I've only been using the EZBook 3 for a little while, but I can already straight away say that the build quality and the keyboard and the touchpad is definitely better on the Chewy, and the Chewy also has a quad-core processor. So I think at this stage, and this point in time, if you're looking at both of these, it's quite clear to me that I think the Chewy's going to be the definite winner, unless of course we get some sort of crazy battery life or something coming out from the EZBook 3. And here you can see that the bezel, at least the top bezel, is actually smaller than the Chewy MacBook 14's bezel. The only real win for the jumper so far is the fact that it weighs about 150 grams less. It's noticeably lighter. The size of both of them is almost identical, but the jumper just being a tiny bit smaller with its dimensions. I removed the back cover off, which simply involves removing all of those screws and you can pry it off. It does have this aluminium heat shielding on the back here, which probably could be used to actually help cool the device down if you placed a thermal pad right here, which would transfer heat onto the back of that. Now, really good job that Jumper have done here. They've used copper for the heatsink this time. So all of this is made out of copper. It is exactly 1mm thick. That should do a really good job for cooling. I haven't actually checked that out yet. So here we can see the Realtek wireless card. We have the BIOS right here. 2 battery cells, 7.6 volts, 5000 milliamp hours there. And right here, SATA 3 slot there for an M2 SSD. They've got that set for the smaller size, which would be 22 by 42. But if you can somehow get rid of this, then you could put in a full size 22 by 80. So it's good to see that Jumper finally fixed that problem with the USB ports. On the EZBook 2, it would not power an external hard drive. Here it's running USB 3 speeds, powers my 1TB external drive from both of the USB ports, which is really good. So I've just finished running Geekbench 4 here, and you can see that the single core performance, that is actually very good. This score is faster, way faster than the top Atom X7s, but the multi-core score there clearly behind because it only has 2 cores, unlike the other models of the Apollo Lakes, which are all quad cores. Those ones get a score of about 4,000, which is a lot faster there. So you have to take that into consideration. If you're going to be using applications, programs that can take advantage of quad cores, then this wouldn't really be the model to go for. And if it's only single core performance that you're worried about, then it's not going to be too much of a problem. Okay, so that's just the unboxing there, but my first impressions of the screen are good. Nice colors to it. It's a little bit more cool white than the laptop 14.1 inches screen, but it has nice viewing angles left and right. and a very nice panel, and the fact that it is matte coated with, well, basically anti-glare coating on it, it's very practical and nice to use without having all those annoying reflections that you get from the glossy displays. Now the keyboard, not really that happy with it. There's a bit of bounce to it. Typing on it is okay, but it doesn't feel good, again, as the LapBook 14.1 inches keyboard. Now, why am I comparing both of those models? Well, they're both the Polo Lake laptops and they're both 14 inches, so very similar. Now, the touchpad, this is probably one of the better things on it. The touchpad is good. I find that I can move around on the screen quite easily there. It's one of the better touchpads I have used, and just as good, I would say, as the one that's in the LapBook. Now, when it comes to things like battery life and other performance in things like applications or games, that I still have to check out. That's to be seen whether we're going to see much of a difference in real-world use between having a dual-core and a quad-core. I do believe with basic tasks like Internet Explorer, docs, and everything else, we're not going to notice any difference there compared to the quad-cores. It's only really applications and things that are going to take advantage of using the quad cores versus the dual to help accelerate things and all that. So we'll be back later on with the full review covering everything else like battery life, performance, and games. So do stay tuned to the channel for that, and thank you so much for watching this video.